yourself in and get ready. The leaders in NBL Supercoach are incoming, giving you the ultimate insight to help you dominate your mates and climb up the rankings. You're now listening to the Insight NBL Show with your hosts, Matrix and Hammer.
Hello and welcome to the Insight NBL Show. I'm the Supercoach Matrix. It's New Hat Day, and mate, Hammer is incoming. Mate, how are you? Sounds like we're having a few technical difficulties, but the sports guy has a question from about 5 hours ago, and it is, what is our favorite basketball movie? I know mine itself is basketball. So if I had to pick one, it's basketball. I'm interested to see what Hammer comes up with. But let's just go through what's on today's show. We're going to go through the winner of our Insight NBL Instagram Patreon competition. We've got team previews, which we've decided to go team by team, and then incorporate a little bit of schedule chat. So we incorporate some schedule chat into that and target our teams. That way we can gloss over some of the ones that we're not necessarily talking about, maybe get some pods that we think that you could play on some of these singles, maybe get some cash cows that we believe could be worth holding or buying along the way when it comes to our team previews. We're going to go through our normal popular trade chat. We're going to go through captains, and we are going to go and answer our questions. Look, the winner of our Insight NBL Instagram Patreon competition, this competition kind of stemmed from the fact that we were splitting our Insight Fantasy Sports Instagram page to Insight NBL, Insight BBL, so that if you don't care about cricket, you don't have to see that Brano and Mick are doing a cricket show. If you don't care about NBL, you don't have to, you can just follow your cricket stuff. And everybody got involved. There was plenty of comments. There was lots. I think I had about 50 entries there. But the winner of our Insight NBL competition is Ian Johnson, IJ. I see him in the chat there. So congratulations, mate. You've won some Insight Unlimited. So we'll get you in. I've got a link here for you. We'll message it through to you, and you can get access to some BBL preseason, all our NBL chat. I know I just did a little captain's write-up. I know I've been doing some write-ups about Brisbane, and of course all the guys in the chat are extremely helpful. We answer all your questions along the way. So if you're interested, only $5.95 a month on our Patreon. The doubles that are happening right now. Brisbane and Perth are the only doubles this week. So it's a small week. We're going to duck in and target in on those guys. Perth having 3 in a row become very handy at this time of the year. Brisbane are a really interesting one, and I'm going to bring up the schedule here. Brisbane have a double, and then they go into a single, and then they have 9 doubles in a row. 8 doubles in a row. So that's 9 in 10 weeks. Something I'm really interested in, because you're going to want to get these bullets, guys. So we're going to have heaps of chat about the bullets just to work out who we're going to get. You can't be too stacked. Brisbane haven't been a fantastic basketball team. Sorry at the moment. But you have to have some of these guys, because it's just going to make the flexibility so much easier. You might have some guys on the bench with some doubles. It's, on some of those short weeks, you can hold some of your guns on singles as long as you have some Brisbane guys. So I think that that's really important going forward. As we look forward to next week in round 10, we've got New Zealand Breakers going on a 4-game streak. There's some guys there, of course, we want. We want Parker Jackson Cartwright. You've, of course, got to be chatting about Kareem Lopez. I see a lot of chat about Menenga. I see a lot of chat about Matt Mooney now that he's sliding in price. I'd love to see some form hit there. But Sydney is where I'm probably looking to target next week, because there's some really good captain options there, especially with Cairns in the mix for that game. Illawarra have been irrelevant for a little bit, but maybe if you were looking to take a punt, your Will Hickeys and some guys like that, you could look forward to next week. New Zealand Breakers and Southeast Melbourne both being good matchups. And of course, if you're interested in any Perth Wildcats, you should have them in your team. Hammer, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, man. Better late than never. Sorry about that, fellas.
No, we've done our intro. We've given out our Insight NBL competition. So Ian Johnson is our newest Patreon member.
Sensational. Welcome.
Really good question, mate. And it's, what's your favorite basketball movie of all time? I've already taken basketball.
Okay. I've got a tie between two of them. Now, I've got a soft spot for love and basketball, but also, here's a little left field one. Rebound. The Story of Earl Manigault. Remember that one?
Yeah, right.
Seen that?
Yeah. That's like 99. Is that mid-90s?
Oh, it'd be at least. Maybe earlier. Sensational one.
I have a soft spot for that new one, the one with Adam Sandler in it. I actually really like that one. Hustle.
Yeah.
But as a kid, I just really loved Air Bud.
That's a shocker. Man, there's been some great ones. Blue Chips, Glory Road.
Yeah. Even going back to like Coach Carter or anything like that. I tell you what, lucky it's raining. I might call in sick tomorrow.
My wife's come out with this list of like Christmas movies that you're meant to watch from the 15th of November. And I'm looking through the list. I'm thinking I'm going to replace with basketball movies after that. This is good.
That's the reason that iPads were invented, my friend. So, yeah, let's do it. Mate, look, we've had a chat. I had a bit of a schedule chat, of course, focusing around Brisbane and Perth doubles. I've grabbed it by the balls. Did you have any breaking news today?
God, I don't think I've had a chance to even look at anything. But look, I think the biggest thing is the FIBA break's coming. Few injuries. We've still got a few question marks over Cotton and when he returns. I don't think it's this week. But look, as far as breaking news goes, there's not a lot happening.
Yeah, I think everybody's just gearing up for that FIBA break. I know a couple of the next stars of Kareem Lopez is going to play in that, as is Izan Almanza, of course, for Spain and Mexico, respectively. But yeah, those guys are ducking off, which should be good for their experience. But honestly, not really Supercoach relevant.
No, look, I think the break will be good. There's a lot of injuries out there. It'll give some guys some time, and it's probably a good time to take stock at the halfway point of the season and see where we're all at.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm pretty happy where I'm sitting, about 275. But there's still, like, you have a look at that schedule. There's still a lot of time to move if you find yourself a little low in the rankings. Don't give up just yet.
No, I think it's probably a case too where you can always chase points, whereas sometimes the cash is gone. So if you've made some good cash, you made some choices early, you're going to come home with a bit of a wet sail and you can attack a really good back-ended schedule.
Mate, let's have a look at the weekly preview.
He's heating up.
As always, it is brought to you by Ryan from Astute Newstead. He's our good friend over there, avid NBL Supercoach player as well. But looking after home loans. So you've got a current home loan and you want to save some money, get in contact with him. He can refinance you, save you money every single week, every single month. Could be as much as just to save you a carton a week. If you're looking for your dream home, if you're looking for an investment property, get in contact, get your borrowing capacity off him. It's all obligation free and cost free. Have a chat to him and see where you are at. Mate.
I think it's probably time we backtrack. There is some breaking news that the guys watching have actually brought it to us. Have a look at these comments starting to roll in. I think Bryce is back this week. Shit, Cotton's back Friday. That's the news of the day. Cotton is back.
That changes all of my trade plans, so I'm glad we do that. Can somebody just throw a source in the comments? I would love to be able to back it. I might just flip that around then till we get that. But let's have a chat about Brisbane before we tackle Perth then. Mate, Brisbane are starting their golden run. It's a bit funny that they have a double into a single. And look, it's the first time we should have been looking at Brisbane assets, isn't it?
Yeah, look, we've had these earmarks since the start of the season. And look, it's a little bit of a false start given that it's a double single into a massive run of doubles. But this is looking very reminiscent of Cairns last year, where we had that golden run and we loaded up on some probably subpar guys just because of the schedule. And I think this is worth discussing tonight. Are we loading up just because of the schedule, despite there not being all that much talent there?
Yeah, I think that there's only a few guys you can target. I think there's 5 guys you can make a case for. I just don't think, like, I was okay with Perth and getting almost 5 guys, maybe 4 guys. I think I'm okay with 2 this week and maybe 3 by the start of round 11 when it comes to Brisbane. And I think we need to consider them as good backups. So I was having a look at my bench. I only had 1 guy under 200K at the moment. When you're looking at your Bannons and your Prathers and stuff, I don't think that they're a play in, I nearly said first grade. I don't think they're a play in your starting team every single week. I think that they're people that you need to consider as really good bench players with a great schedule that you could start in a pinch.
Yeah, I'm glad you made the distinction because it's a very different set of players we're looking at between Perth and Brisbane. You look at Perth and you're looking at guys like Doolittle, you were looking at guys like Cotton, probably Pinder if he wasn't in such a slump. And these are guys you could even consider playing on a single in a very, in a round without a lot of doubles. You look at Brisbane and you're not seeing that same type of quality. We're really trying to convince ourselves, make excuses to play them. Harrison was a guy we've been high on. He's been horrendous. He has a massive break even this week. And when I say massive, I think it's about 72, but I don't think he's hit 36 one game this year, let alone 2 in a row. We talked about Prather as a bit of a cash cow, but that was always a sort of a backup role. We were never talking about him as a starter. Bannon has been injured half the season. And you look past that, we're struggling to look at it, aren't we? We're talking Keandre Cook maybe. I know he's quite heavily owned in the top 10% of coaches, but there's no one you're looking at that you'd even half consider as a captain option, is there?
Not really. Maybe Cook if you don't have anyone else. But Cook's coming into some form. So started pretty ordinary. Everybody talking about whether it's Cook or Bateman that's going to be, one of the first guys home. But Cook has come into his own, coming off a 41 last week, into a golden schedule with I think a 26 break even. I can get around getting Cook. I think that he is borderline must have this week, but it's Bannon. I think he's just kind of priced what he's meant to be. I think Tyrell could drop in cash a little bit. I think that Casey Prather has been hit and miss. I was really high on him for a little bit, made a little bit of cash earlier on in the year, expected to hold him through this period, but we actually have seen him slide in cash recently. But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. Look, you're right. Look, Toilets in, he's always good for backing up what we're saying. He's saying Cook's bought in by 70% of the top 1% of coaches this week. Didn't expect that. But I think when you look at that, he's priced pretty much around new import price right now. And I haven't looked at his break even, but I'd imagine with that good game last
24.
week, 24, he's probably going to get it and maybe even rise a little in cash. So even if it's a 1 week play, and then you're gonna move to a JA next week, it's doable. See, I've played with him in my starting lineup, and look, I'll show my hand here. I've boosted this week. I got rid of White, I got rid of Hurt, and I got rid of Hickey, which left me with a bit over $1 million to spend. By bringing in Keandre Cook as one of those 3 players, still leaves me with about 180,000 in the bank to have a good play next week. I don't think this is, a week where you really have to do a lot, considering there's only 2 teams on doubles and one of them is Brisbane.
Yeah, I know. I think with how popular Perth players are, I think you're going to be able to field a team with five 5 players on doubles. But I was actually looking at having 6. But the problem is with this news of, and I've went and confirmed it, 10 News Perth is saying that he made it through today's training, and he will suit up this Friday. Not that I think of him as a guy that I want to bring in straight away after this injury, even though I think he's priced really good. Your Henschels, I'm really concerned. I'm considering him as maybe a trade-out option as of about 4 minutes ago. I've got Ty Webster, so I'm wondering whether I need to get rid of Henschel or Ty Webster. Should I get rid of both of them? It's only 70K up to a Keandre Cook. Like, I think if you were thinking of getting rid of some of these guys like Sobey, I think you might backpedal a little bit and pivot to maybe getting rid of one of these Perth guys.
Look, potentially, I'm very keen to get off Hickey. I think he's topped out at his price, and I'd like to, for once, jump off, right at the peak of that price rise. Cotton, for me, is not a buy. I think he's going to change potentially some of those minutes between Henschel, Pepper, those sort of guys. Ty Webster, maybe. But I don't think he comes back at, in full strength playing the 40 minutes he was. This team's changed since he's been out. It used to be so Bryce Cotton centric. It's going to be really interesting the way we've been playing through everyone else, how that changes. Coming back from that rib, though, if you're the opposition, what are you going to do every time he's out there? You're going to run him off 20 picks every single possession. You're going to test those ribs out. He's going to be ginger. I don't think this is something you come back with full confidence straight away. And he's got that last game where he played 2 minutes. That's going to be factored into his 3-game average. He's going to drop again. We might see a Cotton very close to new import price for the first time ever.
Yeah, he's 342K at the moment with a 94 break even. So he's somebody you need to... I don't think it's somebody that you can bring in this week.
No, I don't think so either. But then I don't know when you do, because the schedule's going to dry up for Perth. They're pretty ordinary after this big stretch of doubles runs. He's going to be losing cash for a point. You might be able to bring him in. And we've talked before that Cotton's one of those guys, when healthy, that you can play on a single. Imagine, though, if you've upgraded someone like, for example, Will Hickey to Bryce Cotton, that they could be on par price rise within the next week. You're probably only looking for an extra $100,000 cash to upgrade Henschel to Cotton now. It's definitely a play, but not this week, I don't think.
Well, I was kind of feeling the same way about Jalen Adams, and you've seen it documented on our TikTok and our Instagram this week. Jalen Adams at that early 300s price, 310K with a 28 break even, coming off a 40 on a single, going single into a double. I was considering him a captain option even next week. We've got Parker Jackson Cartwright and we've got Jalen Adams. I think it's going to be a big decision this week as to whether you want Jalen Adams or whether you want Bryce Cotton next week. And I think we can wait and see.
Yeah. And look, for me, I know Amflight's in the chat talking about something similar. He's going Sobey to Cotton next week. I'm moving Sobey to my bench this week. Even with the boost, I didn't quite have the trades to get rid of him. I think the way he's playing, the way he's played the last couple of games, he might even make a little more cash. I think that's a really good piece next week to decide whether you go to Cotton, whether you decide to go to Jalen Adams. I think next week's the play. I don't think this is the week where you really have to have everyone on doubles. I think you can actually get away with a couple of guys on singles. Having that cash up your sleeve, it's a long season. You don't have to win every single week. I think there's even some benefit in hedging your bets and building some more cash. Because I know at the end of the year, I definitely want Montrezl Harrell and I want Kendrick Davis in my team. So I might, take the L for a week on 10, 20 points to bank the cash.
When I have a look at it, and, it's something I found out 10 minutes ago, I'm starting to think that, and I see lots of questions about Pepper and Henschel. I'm starting to think that Cotton coming back affects Henschel and Pepper a lot more than it affects Ty Webster. Ty Webster has one role. It's that guy off the bench, that spark plug, And I think that Cotton being back doesn't really affect him as much as it affects those other two guys. Are you on board with that?
I'm torn because we know we have seen Henschel start beside Cotton. We've seen Ty Webster start beside Cotton, and we know we can't trust John Riley. I don't know what happens here. I wouldn't even be surprised if Cotton comes off the bench in this one, and we see him in a very limited capacity. I'm nervous about this. I know I don't. I will not play Cotton this week. I'll put it out there and say that. But how that affects everyone else, I'm really not sure. But yeah, I think the interesting story here, sort of just moving away from this Cotton trade at the moment, is there are some star players starting to become very affordable. The Torrens in the chat again. I was talking to a mate about this today. Is Matt Mooney? He's had a shocking run. Just as a side note, I listened to the Huddle pod with Pete Hooley talking to Matt Mooney. Seems like a good guy. I like his story, but you can't keep a good guy down forever. This guy's going to come back, and he's a quality player with a great schedule coming up. He's another one that you could be picking up, at a big discount, coming to a better schedule than Cotton. Maybe a Sobey to a Mooney is a good play as well. So we've got some options. When we talk about guys coming back from injury, you've got Tanner Groves, you've got Taron Armstrong. These are guys that are coming in at reduced prices. So it's a really interesting time of the year, isn't it?
Yeah, I think this is when it starts to open up a little bit, and we start to see some very different teams pop up. But yeah, look, I'm excited to see how all this shakes out. Mate, Melbourne, we're all starting to get rid of Melbourne players. Looks like Jack White's out for a week. He was a guy that most were probably considering a guy that you can hold on a single, but not with this news.
No, look, the calf's an injury that it lingers. They give these timelines and they're never accurate. We saw what happened with the Cairns guys, whether it was Tanner Groves, whether it was Taron Armstrong, they're coming back next week. It's coming. I don't trust it. We know Jack's had some issues with his Achilles and some other leg issues. The fever break's there. Why would you risk it on a single? Give him the extra 2 weeks. He's peaked in price. He's done everything we need him to do. Started at 230. I think he peaked at 377. Time to jump ship. And like I said before, I'm boosting this week. You get him out, you get Matt Hurd out, you get Hickey out. I think a lot of us own those guys. There's a hell of a lot of cash to really pivot. So I think Jack White's been a servant for us, but this is the time to move, and there's some options to go to now.
Absolutely. Any of those Melbourne guards you need to get rid of as well. But really, you start to talk those three players. You add a Brisbane player or two, and you add say a Cotton, say a Jalen Adams, say you're getting a Pinder or whatever. You're probably going to head into next week with 200 or 300K in the bank.
Yeah, it's definitely, if you've done the right thing and you've cashed in on some of these cash cows, you will be sitting pretty. And I think that's it with the cash cows. We identify them early in the season. We jump on them. You got to know when to get off. Sometimes there's too much of a good thing, and if you hang on too long, you're going to pay the price.
Mate, the next team's Tasmania, and I've had a few messages about whether we consider. Can you keep Doyle on a single with a 54 break even?
I think the answer is no. The break even's hard. 54 is enormous for a guy who has spent the year, just swimming in mediocrity. He had that big game last week. He had 30 points for 41 Supercoach points. And then the next game he's come back and he's laid another egg. I don't think Tassie are it. They're playing Brisbane. And you get down the weeds with Tassie. It's going to be low scoring. Brisbane hasn't been great either. But, yeah, I don't think you can play Milton Doyle. I think if you are playing guys on singles this week, it's PJC. Look, I'll guarantee that Keandre Cook in the double will outscore Doyle on a single.
Yeah, absolutely. And some of the guys that we've talked about that you can play on a single, and let's just rattle them out. And this is why I didn't want to go game by game. Oh, Dawes break even's 20. I got the message say, would you keep him with a 50 break even? I just opened it up on Discord. Thanks, Rob.
Yeah.
Supercoach Hall.
If the break even's 20?
It's much the same as Sobey for me. I'm okay with moving him. I'm okay with keeping him.
See, look, you're not going to hold him long term. So even if he makes a little bit of cash, he's only sort of trying to swim back to where he was. You've already lost the cash. I think you take the points on that position if you've got the trade.
Speaking about guys that you can keep on a single, and it's guys that you're either going to make money on them or they're going to head into a double. So it's blokes like Xavier Cooks. It's blokes like Jalen Adams. It's usually a bloke like Bryce Cotton. It's definitely a bloke like PJC. They're guys that you can keep on a single knowing that they're heading into a string of doubles or heading into a double, or we expect them to make cash. Like your Doyles, like your Sobeys, blokes like that.
Yeah, for sure. Look, Toilets again in the chat. He's on the money again. Mooney, Adams, PJC, KD, Cook, all coming up to doubles soon. And I think that's it. If you're holding on a single, it's an elite guy who is coming into a good schedule next week, which is going to save you a trade then. I think on a week like this where you've got so few teams on the double, and one of those teams is Brisbane. So let's call it 1.5 teams on the double. I think you've got some grace to play some elite guys on a single.
Yeah, I agree with you. Southeast Melbourne, the story, of course, has been Sobey. We've mentioned it. Okay, either way. I think either way is a good move with a 25 break even. Matt Hurt, 47 break even. You said that you were trading him out. So Curdy in the chat is asking the same questions. What do you think about Matt Hurt?
I think, look, he's been solid this year. He's been solid without being spectacular. And it's in a position that's been weak for us all year at centre. The schedule for Southeast Melbourne turns to pus. I think it's one double in the next 6 rounds, something like that. I'm getting off him as a priority. He's starting to lose cash. I don't know if it's this new coach, the roles changed, or Sobey being more dominant, or not having Walton Jr. out there. Whatever has happened, I feel like there's been a definite shift. And look, once again, you got to know when to get off a good thing. I think, look, the form and the schedule just says we need to pivot. Where we pivot to is the question. The Pinder for me is probably the answer because I'm leaning away from Terrell Harrison right now. Terrell Harrison will be a buy, but I'm actually hoping to get another price drop and getting him bottomed out. So look, that's probably me. IJ's in there, Hurt to Harrison. That was a trade for me before I saw the break even. I don't think it's a bad one, but I'm sort of betting on him dropping and getting him next week.
The week after, I presume you mean.
The next round. Yeah.
Sydney, we're having a chat about them. So Kelly LePepe has basically popped out of the rotation recently. Xavier Cooks playing really well. Cam Oliver getting an uptick in minutes. Jalen Adams looking a lot healthier with that back injury. They're an interesting one because you can talk me into adding a guy with a low break even on a single, like Jalen Adams, 28 break even, scored 41 in his last one, into a double next week and becoming a little bit of a pod. Cotton's going to be on everybody's lips next week. Jalen Adams with just the one single. PJC, if you don't own him, you're going to add him over that. But I think if you have PJC already, like Jalen Adams could be a massive pod next week.
Yeah, I really like that backcourt. And that's half the reason I have toyed with the idea of not bringing in Keandre Cook and bringing in Jalen Adams instead, for that saving a trade next week to have the backcourt of PJC and Jalen Adams. Looking at the matchups in that double for Sydney, one of them is Cairns. I expect Sydney to go to town on that. Cairns have absolutely hemorrhaged cash. More so to bigs, but pretty much to everyone lately. I mean, yeah, like it's tempting, but there's always a downside to everything, isn't there?
Yeah, look, there is. He could just hurt himself again before he heads into the double.
Gorging could be gorging.
Yeah, exactly. I don't I think Tyler Robertson's going to be sitting on the pine a lot with the way that Sydney have been playing recently. But like recent news in the last 15 minutes, like I was okay to play Henschel on a double. Now I've
Mhm.
got that question marks. I think I'd rather play a PJC or a Jalen Adams on a single over a Henschel or a Ty Webster on a double, which
Yeah.
is it's lurking in the back of my head.
Yeah. Look, Henschel this week, he has a break even of 32. Dennis has just jumped in the chat, dropping that one for us. So look, on a double week, you're looking at about 16 a game. Look, it's not ungettable, but I also don't, with Cotton back, I don't love the role, and I don't have extreme confidence in the minutes either. We have seen it be up and down, but I also don't think it's a priority to jump off just yet. Um, look, he's around that 200K mark. I think we need to get off him soon, but it's about having a spare trade, isn't it? And I don't think this is the week. I think there's more work to do until we can get to that point.
Mate, having a look, Hawks they're in a weird schedule, but they are one of those teams on a double next week. Davo Hickey, I think with a break even of 40 on a single this week, he has been fantastic. It's time to go Davo, isn't it?
It is. Trey Kell's back. He played 28 minutes last game, which was, surprising coming back from a back injury. So I think the minutes only go up from there. I think we're probably resigned to the fact that Davo's back to that 15 minutes a game. And look, he may be in a really good points per minute guy, but the minutes probably aren't going to be there. The other one out of Illawarra is Darius Days. Now, I captained him early in the season. He had an absolute blinder to start the year. He has struggled big time. Last probably month? He's had some low teen scores, maybe some single figure ones from memory. His price is going way down. Is he due or is he done?
I mean, he's playing Sydney this week, which I consider another tough matchup. I think he's going to drop a little bit more cash again this week. A break even of 31 might drop another 10 or 11K to be around that 230K. Onto a double, I consider him a pod. I would play Darius Days on that double over a Josh Bannon and some blokes like that.
Yeah.
Would I play him over Kareem Lopez? I'm not 100% sure. But if you're a bit weak at forwards because you've absolutely got stacked guards and stacked centers, Darius Days could be a juicy pod for next week. I just don't think you bring him in on a single against Sydney.
Yeah. Look, there's some really good chat here. Look, Days 235K next week could be a massive bargain. You could potentially go Lopez to him. That might be a play, although the schedule gets a bit funky for Illawarra. Look, the one I was looking at just before, how do you think Kellback is going to help Darius Days?
He was better when Kel was playing, so yeah, I can only think of it as a positive. The man got mad dogged by Trez last week, can I add?
Yeah, look, that was big. And the praying mantis is in there saying Days is a void. We can't trust him. Look, this may be an interesting one for Fool's Gold next week. I think we might even be split on this. We might put a little vote out in our Patreon or our Discord and see what we think about that one. But look, Illawarra, the schedule, there is a double there if you bring up the schedule again. But after that, it gets pretty bleak for the Hawks. And you're looking at the other teams around there. I think there's a few other options. So you're looking around 10. And we're looking at your Hawks round 10, then they've got single, and then it gets really good for them. I think you can probably wait till round 13 to get on the Hawks.
Look, I'm with you. The New Zealand Breakers go into an elite schedule. They go into 4 in a row after this week.
Yeah.
They are better than Brisbane, but I'm just trying to be super cautious about treating Lopez kind of like Davo Hickey, making sure I get off that at the right time, and just not carrying too many New Zealand Breakers. We fell into that trap, and it really hit home last episode, when you were bringing up Cairns last year.
Yeah.
And it hit home because we were talking about Menenga then, and we're talking about Menenga now. Like, there's no point holding Menenga, a guy that averages 16 to 18 Supercoach points, when he's priced at 16 to 18 Supercoach points through a string of doubles. I think he has a 1 break even this week. I think we let him do his thing for a week, maybe 2, and then we need to make sure we get off him at the right time, because if you've got 240K, you're talking about a small upgrade to not a keeper, because I don't consider anyone a keeper the way that NBL Supercoach has played, but you're talking about getting guys in the Jalen Adams caliber. You're talking about getting guys in the Darius Days caliber and everything like that when Menenga eventually tops out. And I think we're only 1 or 2 weeks away.
Yeah. Look, one of the ones we didn't cover in breaking news was the injury to Jonah Bolden. Look, he's been horrendous all year. They've persevered with him, and he started, and he's played some solid minutes. Those minutes are likely going to be up for grabs. We discussed the calf injury to Jack White, and it's going to be a couple of weeks. Does this open up a bit more time, and who does it open up time for?
It's got to just be, your Menengas, maybe your Freddie Gillespie a little bit more as well.
Does it
But
help
yeah,
Lopez?
I think so. I think he's a 3/4. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. So I think we can probably get another week out of Lopez, and you're right. We don't want to just play the schedule for the schedule's sake. We want to be playing guys who are actually going to contribute, and we want to learn from that mistake with Cairns last year. But look, PJC's a lock. He sort of sits outside the schedule talk as far as I'm concerned. Biggest one beside him is Mooney. He's been down on form, but we know he's their second option. We know he's been really good. I think you can bring him in. I jumped off him to get onto Sobey, and I was really upset at you. It's turned out really well, and
You're welcome.
let me just say, I wasn't wrong, just wasn't as right as I normally am, and it's probably a good thing I somehow blindly followed you. But there's an argument to go back, Sobey to Mooney, at that reduced price. I've made the money on Sobey. I didn't lose the money on Mooney. Going to get Mooney and hopefully get the price rise again. I think that's a good move compared to trying to chase these others.
Not this week, though.
No,
56
no.
break even, 300K. Let him get
let it
back
ride
down
out.
to that new import price.
Yeah.
And there's some guys in the chat asking, is Mooney a hold? I think he is, because you only lose money when you sell him. I think we can expect him to get back up to that 340K because he is that caliber of a player. But look, I'm happy. I've never owned him, and he was one that I was kicking myself, like Dave O'Hickey getting him off early. But now that But now that I don't have him, I'm pretty happy when I see this slide. It's just going to be shooter's going to shoot situation. He could score 56 against Cairns this week. Honestly, he could. He could play himself back into some form and be the guy that we bring in most next week. But look, just chill out on him. Don't panic on Matt Mooney. I wouldn't be surprised to see him on the cover of one of our podcasts next week or after the FIBA break. We're going to have a little week spell.
And remember that New Zealand did have that game where they got pumped by the Jack Jumpers, which has deflated all their scores. It was a rough week. They're going to regroup and come back better. They're better than what they put it, against the Jackies in that game. And we've said it all year long. We were surprised, but what we really like about Mooney is he's not just a shooter. The steals, the assists, few rebounds, he'll get it done.
Absolutely. That moves us on from New Zealand. I think we've talked about all the Supercoach relevant players there. Look, I'm going to put my hands out. Everybody, let's hold hands and let's have a little Adelaide 36ers circle jerk. We love watching Montrezl Harrell and Kendrick Davis, but when we have a look at this schedule, we have to patiently wait for these guys. In round 11, I'm okay with bringing in 2 of these guys. I'm okay with saving money from round 10 on. I'm okay with, bringing in Jalen Adams and Xavier Cooks and then going to Kendrick Davis and Montrezl Harrell to have the 2 best players playing that week.
Yeah.
But right now, we shouldn't really be worried about bringing in 36ers because they're playing Melbourne and Tasmania, 2 of the best defensive teams on singles.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right. I think once those two singles are out of the way, we need to find a way to get them in. And I think you could just about hold the rest of the way. They've got a couple of random singles in amongst that sea of green, but I think even then, like Trez is good enough to play on a single generally. Kendrick Davis is. Or look, if we've played the game the way we think we've played it, we're going to have some cash. Like, look at your bench. You don't have a single guy under 200K. If we keep just getting on these cash cows and getting off guys at the right time, we're going to have some really playable guys on the bench. You could have a 270K backup guard you can switch in and out, or a big. Those forward center eligible guys are going to become really valuable. And when we've got benches that are finally playable, this is going to allow us to get to a point where you don't have to make trades each week. You can just substitute. That's the
And you
goal,
can just
right?
play. You can just play Cooks. You can just keep Davis on the bench and play someone like DeAndre Cook on a double. Like they're playable guys. I think that it's going to be really good. But let's just hold on Adelaide. And as avid Supercoach players, isn't it great sometimes to watch an Adelaide game and not super be worried about the Supercoach schedule? You can just sit there, you can have a tinny, and just enjoy greatness.
Yeah. But look, talking about those guys and holding them and having those playable benches, this is where we need to start looking at whose schedule complements Adelaide. Who can you get that's playable that is on the doubles when Adelaide's on the singles? I haven't been through it yet because I've only just had the thought. But if you look at, say, 36ers on that single where New Zealand,
Phoenix?
Around 12, Phoenix looked to line up reasonably well with them, for most of it. If you had the cash to have between a Matt Hurt and a Montrezl Harrell, that'd work. A Sobey and a Kendrick Davis could pair. So these are the sort of things where you're starting to get those cash and a few more cash cows between now and then. These could be the pairs that you play with.
And Cairns are a basketball team. All right, let's move on. We have done our Supercoach previews for the week. You should not even be looking at Cairns players, even if they had a good schedule. Guys, should we have a look at some of the popular trade chat, or should we just head into captains?
Your call, man.
Right, let's have a look at some of the popular trades. And Jack White to Tyrell Harrison is the first one. Can't argue.
Understand. Yeah, you're getting off Jack White, and there's not too many options at your big man. I really think that centre position this week is between Harrison and Pinder. I don't think there's much else out there.
I'm holding Pinder in because I'm hoping that Tyrell Harrison drops in cash a little bit.
Yep.
I'm not fading Harrison. He's actually one of my favorite players to watch. But I just think we can just get him either when Pinder's at the end of his schedule or when he drops in cash a bit.
Talk about the matchup, though, for Harrison this week. He plays Magnay. How does that look for you?
They're really good friends, actually.
Spend some time in Brisbane together?
Yeah. Come through together. I think that it's really good when they play each other because they keep it close to the rim. Both of them do. I think where Tyrell Harrison struggles is playing against somebody like Pinder, who he's playing this week, might I add, because Pinder can shoot the three and Tyrell Harrison has to go out there and trudge out there. He starts to lose rebounds. He's not very quick. He's not a very good perimeter defender. We saw him at the start of the year, and I think it was actually against Jonah Bolden, most of it, where he really struggled in that first game. A lot of people captain him. He scored about 9 to 11 Supercoach points. They're the games that he struggled. So I think it'll be a good one against Magnay because Tasmania drag you down into the dirt and centers go well in games like that. It's the matchup against Perth that doesn't get the tick of approval for me this week.
Yeah. Look, still unconfirmed whether Magnay's back this week, but the Supercoach pleb, I know he's a friend of yours. He always posts some really, really good content, but he put a little thing up today talking about the last, I don't know what it was, 3 or 4 matchups between these two big men. And they're very, very evenly matched. It's pretty much in the vicinity of 10 points, 10 boards each per outing, which, look, is good without being great. I get the feeling they may cancel each other out a little bit. They're going to be going at each other. There might be some foul trouble. We know that Zakarski's on Brisbane. He's not been getting a lot of minutes, but they do have a backup option compared to Tassie. How does that look when Tassie then go to small ball? When they play Krislovic at the 5, when they play Majok Deng at the 5, and they drag them out to the perimeter. I don't love the matchup, and I don't love the matchup against Pinder either. So I'm betting on him dropping cash this week.
No, that is good. Some of the other ones in the top 10 are Matt Hurt to Tyrell Harrison, very similar as well. One that I expected to see a little bit more in the top 10 was Josh Bannon coming in this week. I have to scroll all the way down to the 9th most traded in with Matt Hurt there. Maybe
How do you feel about it?
Josh Bannon?
Yeah.
I think he's priced at value. So I think that he's a good bring in with his current schedule. I don't think I'm going to make a lot of money, maybe 20 to 40K. I really like Josh Bannon, and I think that he might even get a run in the NBA one day. He's good enough. He's probably a lot more important to Brisbane than Rocco Zakarski and some of these other big names. But I think with the schedule, I think Josh Bannon is an easy bring in and a lot easier bring in than Tyrell Harrison when we have these duels with Pinders and your Matt Hurts and stuff. I brought in Bannon over Tyrell Harrison with my current way of thinking, and it's due to break even and roll.
Yeah, I think so. Then you got to look at the matchups too. He's matching up on Doolittle, which I don't love for him. But then power forwards have absolutely had a field day against the Jack Jumpers. You think about what the Jackies are rolling out in that 4 spot. It's been weak. They've tried Tarangi. They've tried Majok Deng. They've tried a few different options. I think Bannon will eat the Jackies alive. I think that's the spot that the Bullets will go to take advantage of. So I'd expect him to go a lot bigger in that first game, despite those low-scoring games in the Apple Isle. But, yeah, I like it. I don't see a huge difference between him and Tyrell Harrison. So, I wouldn't be upset with either. Neither of them excite me that much.
Mate, Keandre Cook is another guy that people are bringing in, and it's 4 blokes like Nathan Sobey. It's 4 blokes like Will Hickey. It's 4 blokes like Milton Doyle. I can get around all of those. I'm just asking people to maybe consider Nathan Sobey for one more week, and only because of what we saw with Derek Walton Jr. coming back. Sobey still ran the team. Derek Walton Jr. played 18 minutes. I think even if Derek Walton Jr. played that 24, 25 minutes, Sobey still would have scored in the early 30s. With a 25 break even, just don't panic too much on Sobey.
Yeah. And the thing that's encouraging about Sobey is he's been scoring really well while shooting the ball like shit. I think over the last round, he was like 3 of 412 from downtown and probably just as bad from inside. But the 9 assists is very un-Sobey like. Talking about basketball movies as we were at the start of the pod, Juana Man. I don't know if you've seen this one. This is the guy who plays in the WNBA, accidentally bounces off his knee and they count as an assist, and all of a sudden he's off because they slapped him on the ass. But look, Sobey's a lot more well-rounded in the last month than he has been for the last couple of years.
Yeah, his role's looking really good at the moment. And even if I'm going to be frustrated with him in 2 weeks' time, I think I can deal with that next week, just not this week with the current break even. The other 2 that rounded out are Keanu Pinder and Christian Doolittle. I think these guys are as close to must-haves as you can consider at the moment. So, yeah, I can get around with 3 doubles in a row. I can get around sort of catching up to the crowd with these blokes.
Yeah, I think Doolittle's a massive buy if you don't already own him. He's dropped a little bit in price, but he's been good. That score just keeps getting deflated by turnovers. We talked about it last pod. In the first game last round, scored well, had the 1 turnover. That second game, we were commenting on how weird it was that he was playing point forward, bringing it up. And he had a period in that third quarter when Bubbles just went absolutely nuts, where I think he had 6 turnovers in a half or a quarter. something like that. And they were just bad turnovers. Shea Illy was an absolute menace. He was probably responsible for causing, or at least causing half of those turnovers. Look, surely with Cotton back, it's got to help Doolittle. He's not going to be playing point. He can get back to rebounding the ball and give us those double-doubles again.
Absolutely, mate. Look, really exciting that we're talking about Doolittle because I think he might come up in conversation when we have a chat about our captains.
Go captain, my captain. Go captain, my captain.
You don't know how happy that makes me.
You are welcome. Thank you to Brain. He keeps his job in the Insight Fantasy Sports Podcast Network by adding that one back in there. We are back. And that is so much better than the bird's eye captain. Oh.
For sure. Who have you got this week? Top 3.
Doolittle.
Yep. He's my number 1.
Harrison.
Okay.
And Keandre Cook.
Okay. Interesting. I think we can agree on Doolittle. I think that's a consensus number 1. I like Harrison if you've got him. Keandre Cook's an interesting one. Where would you rank Keandre Cook versus Keanu Pinder?
Just above, really. I think Keanu Pinder might score really well, and I'm actually really offended that you haven't read my my Patreon article at the moment about captains, but I know you've had a busy day, man. But I was having a little bit of a look at the matchups, and Keandre Cook was pretty similar to I liked Keandre Cook against, what is his team? Against Perth, but I didn't really like him against when they're throwing blokes like Sword and Doyle at him. That's where I think you struggle. And I like Pinder against Harrison, but if they start to throw like a Bannon or somebody on Pinder, I think that they can take care of him. I don't know. It was one of those ones where you go tick in one department, negative on the other department, and flip a coin. That's where I sat when it come to those blokes.
Yeah. Look, I think it's these rounds where you can be a little pottish. I don't think there's any real clear-cut captain this week. For me, it's probably Doolittle. But, I think you could be just as likely to jag one of the others. Look, Doolittle has been good without being amazing, and he sort of is frustrating where he sits on the precipice of doing great things, and it just always gets, brought down by turnovers or missing the double-double or gets hooked at the end of the game. I think he's the safe option. But I think there's some big upside. We look, Terrell Harrison's had a 20 rebound game. If Magnay doesn't play, the way the Jack Jumpers have been shooting the ball, he could easily gobble up another 20. There's upside there.
I like that, but I keep coming back to this New Zealand game, and it haunts me. I can't sleep at night thinking about that New Zealand game at the start of the year. That players like Fabian Krislovich and stuff were out on the floor, and he just dragged Harrison away from the ring, and he had an absolute stinker. I'm haunted by it because I was so high on Harrison at the start of the year.
Yeah.
I just want to go back to the fact that if you look at the top 5% at the moment, almost 50% of them are captaining Christian Doolittle, and I think that's about right.
Yeah. Like I said, it's a safe play. I don't think this is the week to really pot out, but to me, a captain score from Doolittle this week is probably 235s. Like 70 will probably do it. You're banking on someone like Harrison getting 70, which means he still misses his break even. For me, it's Doolittle.
For me, it's Doolittle too. And to answer a flying toilet, I was just saying it was players like Fabian Krislovich. I think Fabian I just think that they're similar style of players, which haunts me.
Krislovich, the poor man's Menenga.
I can actually get around that, mate. I think that
He's got to be the best comment of the night.
Yeah, Krislovich is on only 2 teams, Tassie and Hammer's Supercoach team. Look, I think that we've thrown some pods I don't think you're going to be, if you captain Tyrell Harrison, Keandre Cook, or Keanu Pinder, even if it goes wrong, maybe the upside there with them working a Bryce Cotton and stuff into the team, maybe the upside is there to captain one of these other players.
Yeah, look, Amflight's in there. Does Cotton back change Dr. Doolittle as captain? I think Cotton back helps Doolittle. Puts him back in his natural role. Cotton's going to be rusty. There's some bricks going up. He's going to get some O boards. I think maybe, the defense sags off Doolittle a little bit more. They've got to concentrate on Cotton, opens him up. You know how much attention Cotton draws that, they throw the double, he can hit Doolittle down low. I think Cotton back helps Doolittle.
I don't think we're going to get that point forward role because, they were throwing their best defenders at, your Henschels or your Ty Websters. They're going to be on Cotton regardless of whether Cotton's rusty or not. I think, your Websters and your Henschels and your Peppers bring the ball up if the best defender is hounding Cotton. And, Doolittle's just going to be able to worry about his own game.
Yeah. What I'd be thinking we'll see, that third quarter in the Melbourne United game last week where Bubbles just went absolutely mental. Did you see when they were showing so much attention to him that it just opened up the roller or the guy slipping the screen? That's what I expect Doolittle to benefit from. Cotton's very similar to Bubbles when he's hot, that he's going to come off and draw a crowd. Doolittle's a smart player. He'll roll, he'll drop into that sort of sagging high post range, and he'll get his.
Look, I'm excited for it. It's going to be a huge week if you go a pod captain. Let's duck into question time.
It's question time. Let's answer your questions for the week ahead.
And I think we've had a really good episode, and I think we've answered a lot of these questions along the way. So we might be glossing over a couple of these. But one guy we really haven't talked about is Rocco Zikarsky. A lot of people were talking about him as a cash cow at the start of the year at 100K. He sort of went to about 125K, and I think he's back to 93. Hasn't been playing a lot of minutes and has a break even of 10, but when you're 93K, your average is about 7. So nothing to write home about. What do you think with this upcoming schedule? Honestly, what are your thoughts? Because I'm lost.
Yeah, for me, it's a void. Unless there is a significant injury to Tyrell Harrison, I think we're going to keep getting what we've been seeing. And I don't know why. He was so much better last year. He even had a bigger role. He got more minutes. I don't know what's happened. He's dropping in his draft projections. I saw it today. He was down to 30th for the next mock draft. I don't like Zikarsky. I was high at the start of the year. We talked about that he could be a cash cow, and it just has not eventuated. Whether it's the way Brisbane plays, whether he's not getting it. I saw an article that his mum's making him eat 5 LCMs before a game. Do you remember them? They were like a little lunchbox snack.
Especially when you got the ones with the little colour snacks. It's like the rice bubbles together. Yeah, I really love those colours. I know you can get the plain chocolate chip, but there's just something about eating coloured chocolate. I'm about it.
Yeah, look, I would not be buying Rocco Zikarsky. I think for backup bigs, you're looking at Almanza. There's more upside there. I think there's some other guys. Look, even looking towards New Zealand, look, Freddie Gillespie's probably getting down towards 93K now, isn't he? Probably not that low.
You can have a bloke like Menenga sitting there at centre, and you can just plonk him there. He's going to score 16. Rocco's highest score is about 16.
Yeah, I would avoid it at all costs. There's better options if you look for them.
Freddie Gillespie's 235K, can I add, with a 19 break even. So
how?
Look at him absolutely cook. He's got a 3-round average of 33, my friend. He's been
better late. He must have dropped a fair bit recently.
Of course, at the start of the show, we were talking about movies. Can we get some love for this new hat that I got? I tell you what, have a look at that. It's fresh. It's got a little Grizzlies logo there. Oh, I'm in love with it. Little corduroy too. Thanks, man. Means a lot, especially coming from you, even if I had to bait you for it. Where's the Space Jam love? I think Space Jam's a little bit overrated.
Especially the new one. That's trash.
I actually haven't watched the new one. But can I give you one that I am all about? White Men Can't Jump.
Yes.
That is up. It was basketball and probably White Men Can't Jump as my two.
You know how most middle-aged guys have like an anchorman vocabulary? Mine's White Men Can't Jump. I got so many off that. I love it. That's a great show. You know what I think they should bring back? Those flip hats.
Yes. I would wear one. I'd wear one
I
on this
love
show.
it. Can we get Insight Fantasy flip hats?
Can we put the Insight logo? This is obviously a fresh hat. Can we put the Insight logo but under there? So you have to
Yeah.
wear it up?
Put in our Patreon store. I'm sure these guys would jump on it. Jump in the chat if you'd wear one of those flip hats like White Men Can't Jump.
Yeah, absolutely. There's plenty of chat about Cotton being back. Lots of people asking, can Zakarsky get more court time? I think you're kind of clutching at straws
Can't
if
get less.
Zakarsky is your bailout. If you've had a bad enough year, I can probably get around downgrading somebody to Zakarsky so that you can get a genuine captain option if you're really struggling. But honestly, like Zakarsky is an absolute,
Spud.
yeah, at the moment, yeah, I think he is.
Yeah.
Sorry, ducking through the questions, and we were answering a lot of them along the way. Crafty Fat Boy's got a big one. Should he start PJC or Pepper? Of course, Pepper being on the double and PJC on a single. Where do you sit with this?
I am so far in the PJC camp, it's not funny. I think Pepper is the one who suffers the most because of Cotton. You know, Cotton's the two guard. Pepper's a two guard, not a point guard. They're playing Henschel at the one. They're playing Ty Webster at the one. I'd be more inclined to think that Henschel and Ty Webster will split the minutes at the one with a few minutes at the two. I think Cotton will slowly work back into his minutes at the two spot, and Pepper's going to be the victim here. I'd 100% go PJC and bank on him to get 36 to 40 over Pepper. Probably, be lucky to get 24 on a double.
I was going to play Henschel over PJC before I heard the Cotton news. So this impacts me as well. And now I'm on the play PJC on a single over Ty Webster, over Pepper, over Henschel. And that answers a lot of the questions in the chat. I do think
I had this exact dilemma last week, and I went Henschel over PJC, and Henschel had 21 in the first game, which made it quite easy to justify. He ended up with, I think, 40 for the round, and PJC had 36, something like that. So it was thereabouts. The dynamics changed now where that's what you're expecting, but now Henschel is going to have less opportunity. So PJC for me.
Sorry, just ducking through all these questions. I know that's shit chat. There's lots of Mooney. Here's one, Michael Higginson. Thoughts on Goulding? He's got a break even of -10 on the bench on a single, and you could make some quick cash in a couple of weeks, I think, with a -10 break even, which might help you get to some players like Trezin Davis. What are your thoughts? Because I hadn't considered it.
Look, to quote White Men Can't Jump while we're on the topic, you can put a cat in the oven, but don't make it a biscuit. This is a guy who we've talked about for the last ever. He had 55 Supercoach points and 46 actual points. Look, he will make his -10 break even. You might make some cash. You will make some cash. Can you make cash elsewhere? Like, he gets that break even this week. What's going to happen next week? Melbourne's schedule turns to shit. I don't love the move. Yes, it's a cash grab. And if that's your only intention out of this, go for it. But I don't think it's worth, changing your whole team dynamic for. Keandre Cook's going to make probably similar cash.
I've missed out on some guys by not adding them on negative play break evens. I think adding Goulding at a -10 break even is probably better than adding Menenga with a 1 break even. I think that I can get around it a little bit more than like Higgins Tisha or a Jackson McCoy with those current roles that are. Goulding has perennially been a 220K player. So when he has a negative 10 break even, I can get around getting him. I just think the schedule doesn't permit. And when he throws up a turd for about 15 Supercoach points, because to average his 25, he scores 37, 30, and then 15. If he throws two 15s out there, you've sort of made 40K and spent a lot of money. I think that there's better things you can do with 250K.
Yeah, I'm not high on Goulding.
Look, sit start, Pinder or Harrison this week?
You know what? I'd flip a coin on this. I'm more than likely going to go with Pinder because of the dual position eligibility and the fact I've been saying all night, I hope Harrison drops. But I would not be upset if I was going Harrison either. We talked about the upside when we're talking captains. He could have a massive game, but I will bring him in. I'm just hoping I'm bringing him in at a lower price.
Mate, there's been a lot of good questions, but I think this wraps them out today. Ham Flight, NBL player to shoot free throws for your life and has to make both. Who have you got?
Clint Steindl.
I think I'm going to go with... I think I've got to go Bryce Cotton. But on recency bias, it's probably almost Kendrick Davis.
Solid. There's some talent out there.
Mate, look, we've had a fantastic episode. We're going to still be chatting in our Patreon. No, Pete Hurley, correct. We're going to be, of course, chatting in our Patreon up until... I believe there's no Thursday night games this week, right?
No Thursday night games. It's a very short round, only the two on the double. Bit sad, no Thursday night games.
As somebody with kids, I actually love a Thursday night game because I always get roped into something. Like grandparents want to see the kids or something on a Friday night or whatever. I'm way more likely to miss a Friday night game than a Thursday night game. But we do have an extra day to think about our trades. I've done up a captain article. I've done up a analysis of the Brisbane Bullets schedule. Get out there, have a look. We'll answer all your questions on the Patreon if we missed you. But good luck this week, mate.
You too, mate. It must be tough up there in the 200s.
It is.
Dizzying heights.
Can I give everybody a challenge? Let's use our Thursday night to watch a basketball movie. And you guys at home, just tag us in your Twitter and let us know what basketball movies you're watching. What's your beverage of choice? Get out there, get involved. You can tell them that the guys at Insight told you to do it so that you can get out of watching your first Christmas movie of the year. Let's band together.
Perfect. The anti-Christmas movie. I'm all in. We'll catch you guys on the other side of the fever break. Good luck.
Cheerio.